All right, everyone. Today we're going to talk about lipids. Lipids are otherwise known as fats, oils, waxes, things that don't mix with water. You might know them as. This picture here is a typical example of what a lipid might look like. There are different kinds, but we're going to focus on ones that look like this. I know this is a little bit complex here. It's got a lot of atoms in this thing. We're going to break it down, kind of simplify it. Here, if we draw a circle around this portion, this is the head portion of the lipid, and then they also have tail portions. Different lipids are going to have different numbers of tails. So this one has 3, others have 2. Okay, so that's kind of how I want you to be able to see that. When you guys draw them, you will just be able to do kind of like this. If you want to do one with 2 tails or one with 3 tails, I really just care that you know about the head portion and the tail portions. Okay. So these things have names, and if I can click. So the 2 parts of the lipid is the glycerol, which is this right here. The head is the glycerol, and then the tails are the fatty acids. Okay, so glycerol, fatty acids, like this. So let me circle these here, diagram it like this. So let's get something down kind of like that, or you could draw it like this here, up in the corner. Here's the names, glycerol and fatty acids. Now the next thing I have on here is this term and this term. Okay, so each one has the word hydro in it. Hydro means water, right? And then we have 2 other root words, phobic and philic. So phobic, like a phobia, is something maybe like a fear. And then philic is love. Okay. So what we're going to see later is that the head of the lipid, the glycerol portion, is attracted to water. It wants to interact with water, and the tails do not want to interact with water. They are going to turn away from the water because they are hydrophobic. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, functions. So makes up cell and organelle membranes. Here is a picture of a cell. And so all of the membrane out here on the outside, that is all made of lipids. Okay, and in fact, they're made of lipids that look like this, that have 2 tails. Okay, these are going to be called phospholipids. In fact, you're going to see that today in your packet. And then additionally, all of the other organelles in here, all of these things are made of lipids, like the outside structure that makes it a compartment. Those are all made of lipids. So lipids are super important. That's going to be one of the main functions that we talk about for our purposes here for lipids. Okay, if you zoom in, right, here's a little portion of the membrane zoomed in like that. These are all the orange little things with the tails. So like this, these are all lipids. And you can see in a membrane, they actually do this thing where they face each other. Okay, and that'll make sense more in the next slide. But essentially over here, there's water inside the cell, there's water outside the cell, and we said that the heads face the water and that the tails face inward so that they do not touch the water, because they do not like to interact with the water, right? So hydrophobic heads, hydrophilic heads, hydrophobic tails. Okay, and then the next function is long-term energy storage. Once we've burned up all of our simple carbohydrates and then complex carbohydrates, we start to burn fat. Okay. All right. Next. So hydrophobic and hydrophilic. So I want you to imagine a cell. There is our makeshift cell. It kind of looks like ice cream sandwiches. So on the top, okay, we have the hydrophilic heads, and then the tails go inward like this. Heads, tails. And that goes all the way around this whole cell. So like I said before, what's inside of the cell? We have water, okay? Because all of the molecules and all the things in the cell have to be able to float around and move through, and they can't just move through the air. So there's water inside the cell. It's more like a gel, but it's based on water. And then outside of the cell, out here between different cells, is also water. So that means that the heads interact with the water. So I'm going to draw this here. Hold on. Oh, actually, never mind. Don't need to draw. Here's a better picture of that membrane. Okay, so the head and then the tails, and then the tail or the head and then the tails. They face each other like this. Okay, so the tails face inward because they don't want to interact with water, which is over. Oops. Oh gosh, what's happening? There we go. Water is out here. Okay. So make sure you have these terms and you know what each one of these terms mean. Okay. Over here, oops, I have a thing of just looks like a jar of water and oil mixed together, and you'll see that, right, they don't mix. You've probably done this before, but right here at the surface of oil and water, what we would have are the heads of the oils facing down, and then the tails would be facing up and away, and then you would just have like more oil or lipids just floating around in there. But at the surface or at the interface of the water and the oil, the heads would be facing the heads would be facing the water because they interact with the water. Okay. And again, same thing with our membrane. All right, I think that's all. Oh, hold on. Just some examples. Okay, so examples in food: butter, oil, waxes, and our cell examples, membranes. We also have organelles. I think you already wrote this, so that's fine. But also steroids. So steroid might be like cholesterol, also found in our membrane, does other things in our body, but steroids are actually lipids. So they can act as hormones, but mostly, again, like cell membranes and organelles is what I'm going to focus on for examples. All right, guys, thank you very much. That is it for the day. Let me know if you have any questions.